Yeah, back at it again.
The governor, the AG, the officers in the executive branch that are the law enforcement officials, they answer back to the public. Here, conveniently enough, there's no answer. And that's why we've had a terrible situation with PAGA. And I'm not going to get into that. I don't know that it's relevant to this challenge, but there's a reason so many people are frustrated with this. You have private citizens running around with state power and abusing it, and they don't have to answer to anybody. Section 13 allows the legislature to allocate the enforcement power to a district attorney as long as they don't disrupt the ability of the AG to supervise the district attorney. But this AG argued the other side of that. Dishonesty is one word, hypocrisy is another. None of it really matters. The reality is Abbott correctly ruled that Section 13 defines the AG's constitutional role as chief and law enforcement officer. There's been another suggestion that there's not a core function of being the chief law enforcement officer. Again, they don't teach civics that often in school anymore, but back when I was going to school, you learned pretty clearly that the executive branch is the branch that enforces the laws. The judiciary interprets the laws. The legislature writes the laws, and in this state, does the budget. But they don't enforce the law. I'm saying the executive. It's surprising to me, let's put it this way, that the Attorney General isn't on my side of the V in this case. The power that's being taken is the executive branch power. It's being handed to private citizens unchecked. And we do talk about substantial control. We do cite cases that if you got to that test, that PAGA doesn't even come close to meeting it. But the clear role here is, and by the way, Marine Force says some interesting things. It says there are 3 branches of government. There isn't a 4th branch. So this notion of a public bringing a branch is just not there. There are 3 branches. They each have specified powers, and they're not to intrude on one another. And what they're saying is, because the public servants within the executive branch all serve the AG has the ability to intervene. When you take a group of people, private citizens, they're not covered by Section 13. There's no such thing as a private citizen army under our Constitution. There's no citizens get to enforce the law provision under California law. When you take such a thing, the AG now loses the power to control. And that's what Abbott stands for.
Iskanian squarely ruled that the legislature can, quote, enlist willing citizens in the task of civil enforcement, unquote, without violating separation of powers. And that ruling should control here. But
I just want to generally say that the cases that are alluded to as by Mr. Jones in his argument that somehow support that the executive branch power can be taken, not one of those cases takes the executive branch power and removes it from the executive branch. They transfer the executive branch power from various branches to other branches. They do not take it outside. PAGA takes it not only outside, but hands it to a 4th branch, which shouldn't exist in California, private attorneys. That's the key issue in this case.
Thank you, Counsel.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones, it does not help us to have you shaking your head in disagreement or nodding your head in agreement. We'll decide it on our own.
I apologize.
Thank you.